The signs are up again at Three Rivers Stadium as a wave of fan exuberance signals the start of the 1973 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The enthusiasm is a carryover from 1972, when the Steelers won the first division title in their 40-year history. It was a glorious year, but they enter the new season with a new challenge. For one successful campaign does not establish a new era of winning. This, then, is the guide-on for the 1973 Pittsburgh Steelers to continue their newfound winning ways during their first season as a defending champion. Steeler head coach Chuck Noll is fully aware that a division title brings with it a curse, for it almost always brings out an opponent's best. But he's also aware that he has the men to successfully face such a test. And during the first 4 weeks of the new season, the Steelers are quite possibly the best team in pro football. In Week 1 against Detroit, Terry Bradshaw throws touchdown passes to Ron Shanklin and John McMakin as the Steeler offense highballs to 24 points. Against Cleveland the next week, a four-pronged land-based attack of Bradshaw, John Fuqua, Preston Pearson, and Steve Davis buries the Browns. Roy Gerella kicks 4 field goals and is on his way to becoming the American Conference scoring champion in 1973. Frank Lewis catches 2 touchdown passes, one from Terry Bradshaw, one from Terry Hanratty, and the Steelers crunch Cleveland with 33 points. The next week in Houston, the Steelers spoiled the Oilers with 36 more points. The go in the Pittsburgh attack emanates from a super-stocked stable of linemen. Guards Sam Davis and Bruce Van Dyke. Tackles John Cole, Jerry Mullins, Mel Holmes, Glenn Ray Hines, and Gordon Gravel. And centers Ray Mansfield and Jim Clack. In Week 4 against the Chargers, these mammoth men of the pit tear open the San Diego defense. Downfield, the Steeler receivers pick up blocks, and the Pittsburgh runners gorge themselves. Terry Bradshaw gets all the time he needs, and the Chargers are cracked open for 38 points as the Steelers complete their first 4 encounters, averaging 33 points per game. Noll's defense is equally impressive, yielding just 11 points per game. Detroit is dashed on the rocks of the Steeler defense with 10 points. Against Cleveland, Ernie Holmes, Joe Green, Dwight White, and L.C. Greenwood wash over Mike Phipps. Linebackers Andy Russell, Henry Davis, and Jack Ham jam the Cleveland running game, and the Browns leave town without scoring a touchdown. In Houston, the Pittsburgh defense outscores the Oilers' offense 2 touchdowns to 1. Andy Russell scores the first touchdown of his career, and Glenn Edwards returns another interception 86 yards. Edwards and defensive backmates Mike Wagner, Mel Blount, and #1 draft pick James Thomas spearhead a ball-hawking Steeler defense that would intercept 37 passes in 1973, 11 more than any other team in pro football. In Week 4, the steel curtain descends on the San Diego pass pocket and sends Johnny Unitas and the Chargers reeling. The Chargers do not score a point until the Steelers have put 38 on the board. The special teams are the final facet of this overpowering football team. They are the John Dockerys, Ed Bradleys, Rocky Blyers, and Larry Browns. Players who do not get headlines, but players who make the Pittsburgh Steelers a total team. After 4 weeks, the Steelers are the conference's only undefeated team. And with the AFC's highest scoring offense and stingiest defense, Chuck Noll's Steelers are beginning to look like the NFL's best. In Cincinnati, the Steelers lose their first game of the season. The offense suddenly dries up, and Preston Pearson's touchdown is Pittsburgh's only score. Horst Muhlmann's 4 field goals lead the Bengals to a 19-7 victory. The Joe Namath-less Jets give the Steelers a scare the next week. Heads-up play by the defense and 4 Jarrella field goals keep the Steelers in the game. But in the fourth quarter, Pittsburgh trails 14-12. With 10 minutes left in the game, Terry Hanratty's pass to Ron Shanklin finally pulls Pittsburgh ahead. The Steelers weather a stormy sea, but the next week their dream ship is nearly swamped. Terry Bradshaw is lost for 4 weeks. But for the 3rd time this season, Terry Hanratty makes his first pass a touchdown pass. But Pittsburgh's joy is short-lived as disaster strikes once more. Incensed at losing 2 quarterbacks, the Steelers' special team pours through. The play sets up a clinching touchdown, and 3 Mike Wagner interceptions seal Pittsburgh's 6th win of the year. With 8 interceptions, Wagner ties for the league lead in interceptions in 1973. His play is characteristic of the Steeler defense. It is a big play defense. It is a hungry, emotional defense. It is a hitting defense. With injuries to several key offensive players, the Steeler defense will have to wear an angry face for the rest of the season. On a Monday night, the Steelers face the Washington Redskins. They are without Terry Bradshaw and John Fuqua, but they are ready. Terry Hanratty shakes off his injury of the previous week, and a fully healthy Franco Harris takes the sting out of the loss of Fuqua. Hanratty throws 2 touchdown passes, and the Steelers lead 14-9. But once again, Steeler joy is shattered. Hanratty re-injures his ribs and is lost for the game. Steeler control begins to slip away, and second-year quarterback Joe Gilliam is on the spot. Gilliam's pass to Barry Pearson appears to be merely frosting on a Pittsburgh victory cake. But it means much more than that, for the Redskins climbed within 5 points. And late in the game, they are perched on the Steelers' 17. Mike Wagner's big hit leads to a Glenn Edwards interception, but the game is not over yet. It is fitting that Joe Green finally covers the fickle football. The Steeler big play defense has been nurtured over the past several years by wise drafting, but it has all sprung from the seed that was planted 5 years ago when the Steelers drafted All-Pro Joe Green. With a 21-16 victory over Washington and a 7-1 record, the Steelers are off to Oakland. Terry Hanratty is back in action for the Raiders game, and Franco Harris's strong running spurs memories of his last performance against these same Oakland Raiders. Hanratty finds Ron Shanklin, and the Steelers with 17 points have enough to win. It is enough because the Steelers' defense tears into the Raider backfield. Defensive ends Dwight White, number 78, and L.C. Greenwood, number 68, lead an inspired Steeler defense to victory. Joe Green crushes Darryl LaMonica, and White intercepts 2 passes. For the 3rd straight time, Oakland is defeated. The Steelers are 8-1 and members of pro football's ruling class. The Denver Broncos invade Three River Stadium in Week 10. The game matches the hand-holding Denver defenders against the steel curtain, an emotionally high Bronco defense against a tried-and-true Pittsburgh defense. The game is a brawl. The Steelers trail until a Hanratty pass nails Ron Shanklin, who runs the Steelers into a 13-13 tie. The Broncos add a field goal to lead 16-13, and so Hanratty begins a go-ahead drive. But the comeback is not to be, as the aroused Broncos strip away a fumble, dooming Pittsburgh's last chance. A Charlie Johnson touchdown pass finishes Pittsburgh 23-13. The same emotional roller coaster that carried the Steelers to a division title in 1972 has picked up the Denver Broncos, who are the first team to defeat the Steelers at Three River Stadium in 14 games. The following week, the Steelers traveled to Cleveland, a wasteland for Pittsburgh teams over the past 8 years. Terry Hanratty completes his first pass of the game, but on the play, he is hurt again. This time it is for good and finishes his season. Joe Gilliam completes the drive with a strike to Ron Shanklin, the 6th straight game in which he has scored and his 9th touchdown catch of the year. 3 Roy Gerela field goals, a high-pressure pass rush, and hands-up defense have the Steelers ahead late in the game. But a Cleveland-Pittsburgh game in Cleveland is never over until the final gun. Greg Pruitt's touchdown with 1 minute to play appears to wrap up the Browns' 9th straight win over the Steelers in Cleveland. But Joe Gilliam, despite the fact that he's under heavy siege, hangs tough and completes 3 straight clutch passes. Gilliam gut drives the Steelers to the Cleveland 15, and in the game's dying seconds, goes for it all. The pass is inches too long. The Steelers have lost 2 straight, and the Browns have, for yet another year, cast a shadow of doubt on a Steeler season. The next week, the Steeler quarterback carousel changes once more. Bradshaw is back from his broken collarbone. Hanratty is gone with a broken wrist, and Joe Gilliam is a starting quarterback for the first time in his career. But Gilliam's first start is one that he would sooner forget. Bradshaw replaces Gilliam, but 5 weeks of inactivity cause a repeat performance. The Steelers are embarrassed, 30-3 at halftime, and the fiber of this earlier invincible team is in doubt. To be sure, the Steeler defense could not be faulted, and led by Henry Davis, number 53, Miami gets just 1 first down in the second half. The Steeler defense lays a second-half comeback path, and the Pittsburgh offense marches over it. Franco Harris rushes for over 100 yards, and Bradshaw throws 2 touchdown passes. The Steelers climb to within 6 points, and Bobby Walden is called on to punt. Walden hits a perfect coffin corner kick, the defense holds, and Miami is forced to take an intentional safety to escape the marauding Pittsburgh Steelers. Now there is precious little time left, and it finally runs out on the Steeler gallant comeback. But in it, the Steelers prove the character of the team. The second-half domination of the Super Bowl champions marks a return to normalcy for the Steelers and is the key to their drive to the playoffs. The Steelers now face the task of winning their last 2 games to ensure a place in the playoffs. In the first of 2 must games, the Houston Oilers find that the Steelers are again a total team. Jack Ham scores for the defense, and Dennis Myatt returns a punt all the way for a special team score. Myatt's score is nullified by a penalty, but it hardly matters as Bradshaw is now completely recovered and hones in on his receivers. Pittsburgh wins 33-7. They are the early season Steelers again, and ready to claim their spot in postseason play. The Steelers arrive in San Francisco on the season's last weekend, and in this second consecutive pressure game, the Steelers blow out the 49ers 37-14. There can be no doubt that this Steeler team, so impressive early in the season and then challenged by 3 weeks of heartbreaking defeat and the loss of several key players, has returned to its overpowering form and successfully spanned the season. '73 was the most demanding year in Steeler history. For the first time in 40 years, they entered a new season as winners. A poor showing after such a remarkable 1972 season would have quickly returned a loser's label to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But 40 men, unaccustomed as they were to the heady atmosphere of winning, challenged a new season and continued their newfound success. In the season's final week, the Steelers win their 10th game of the year and storm into the playoffs for the second straight season. For the 4th time in 2 seasons, the Steelers face the Oakland Raiders, but this time with a different result. They lose to the Raiders, but just as one winning season could not establish a new era of glory, neither can one loss dampen a glorious year. With 10 wins and a playoff berth, the Pittsburgh Steelers are winners again. They have worn their crown well during a challenging season, their first as defending champions.